In this video, we'll talk about what you'll find inside a beehive. The first thing is probably pretty obvious. You'll find bees. Within a bee colony, there are 3 types of bees: the worker bee, the queen bee, and the drone. Next, you'll find frames or bars. This is the structure of your beehive and will hold onto it the comb that the honeybees will build. Inside the comb, bees will store a number of things, starting with bee food. There's bee proteins, or pollen, and bee carbohydrates, which are nectar and honey. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about pollen. Bees collect the pollen from flowers while searching typically for nectar, but they'll also seek pollen out specifically. The hairs on their body will collect that pollen through static electricity, and then they'll collect and tuck that pollen back into their pollen baskets on their hind legs so that they can transport it back to the hive. Once they get back to the hive, they'll take the pollen from their hind legs and place it into the cells, mixing it with enzymes along the way to create bee bread. This bee bread is stored in the cells, typically around the brood nest, for easy access that nurse bees can take the pollen and feed it to the developing larvae. Similarly, the honeybees will collect the nectar from the flowers, bring it back to the hive, where they'll pass it back and forth in a process that continues to dehydrate the nectar even further, and then they'll place it into the cells for storage. While in the cells, they'll continue to dehydrate the nectar until it is 18-ish% moisture, in which case they will cap the cell and store that honey for later. Next, we have baby bees. Like honey and pollen, these bees are developed inside the honeycomb itself. A queen bee lays an egg, it hatches and develops into a larva and then a pupa, and then at that point, bees emerge fully as an adult. So within the hive, you'll see open brood, which is that developing larva, and then capped brood, which is when the bees are in that pupal state before they emerge as adults. Here are a few images to help you distinguish what each stage in the development are as you're looking inside the hive. First, there's the eggs that the queen lays inside each cell. Then there's the larval stage, which is these C and U-shaped grub-like creatures. Then under the capped brood is the pupal state, while the bees develop into a full adult bee. This is similar to a chrysalis in a butterfly. The pupa will continue to develop under the capping until it's ready to emerge and begin its work as a worker bee within the colony. The velvet-like capping on this brood allows you to very easily distinguish it from honey and pollen. Seasonally, you will also find drone brood within the colony, which is where the drones are developing, and so there's a protruded capping that looks a little different than the worker bee cells. And lastly, there's queen cells. We'll go into how to manage bee colonies later, so in this particular presentation, we're just learning how to identify everything within the hive and what you may find inside your beehive. So stick with us as we continue to learn, and thank you so much for joining us on this journey. We really, really appreciate it and look forward to next time.